All right, welcome back to Better Odds Sports Betting. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill.
And this is Kyle Hunter.
And today we
And
have a
I'm John
guest.
Ryan.
Yeah, Mr. John Ryan is here from Wager Talk and Sports Memo to discuss some of the big games today. Follow him on Twitter if you don't already at John Ryan Sports One. John, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing just great. I mean, what a better week could you have with the conference championships, and then you have that little dog track down there in Florida called the Players Championship. I mean, there's nothing better. So thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to it here.
Yeah, great, excellent, and lots of craziness going on already. Madness, if you want to say, with the ACC. We have a couple teams that can't even continue due to COVID pause, don't we, Kyle?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I hope that there's not a bunch of these issues come NCAA tournament. I kind of worry about next week. Those teams that have gotten high seeds and stuff, and then all at once, last minute, they have to get out of it. Hopefully, we don't see too much of that, right? But the ACC tournament's been a problem this week. Most of the tournaments we've been able to get off without a hitch, though.
Yeah, no doubt. But I'll tell you, it's really nice for my Georgia Tech ticket here, and you knew I was going to say that, Kyle.
So, yeah, I knew that was coming.
So don't act like that wasn't planned or anything. No, but it's fun to do it this way. But I was prepared to hedge it today a little bit. But it's really nice now that I'm going to get a Florida State or a North Carolina, and this should be a learning experience too. People ask me today, are you going to hedge it? The answer is always yes, because especially when you have a dog, the chances are you're not going to win. And why would you kiss 16-1, 25-1 away just because you're greedy for an extra few units? No way you should ever do that. Always hedge a quarter, a third, even half, depending upon what you're laying. I'm guessing Georgia Tech would probably be like minus 150 worst case scenario against a Florida State. I think they're ranked right closer to North Carolina. North Carolina's looking good. They'll probably be like a minus 130 against North Carolina. I'm going to be laying that and, collecting some profit here. And when you do that, it takes the stress out of it too. Winner, chicken dinner. So that's what I always recommend.
Yeah, I agree. You get yourself in that good of a position. You try to find a way to hedge out. Now, obviously, there are different futures where if you take somebody plus 150 to win the conference tournament, you just want them to win the conference tournament. They get in the final game unless they're a big underdog. You probably just want to let it ride. But when you catch one of those 25-1s, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, you get some a lot more meat on the bone. And if you're in a situation where you're getting like 10-1 and you're laying minus 500, wait till half. I mean, you're meant to lose that anyway, right? Wait till half. What if you're winning by half? Then you have all your options. So you just got to kind of weigh it with how much meat's on the bone. But either way, it's a great day today because there's a lot of great basketball games coming on, and you know how much I love the Big Ten and everything. But I'm actually going to purposely leave the Ohio State Purdue game off this one because I don't want to bring up any bad memories for Kyle. Talking about these teams here. So I purposely, didn't want to talk about that. Is that okay? You guys? All right.
I'm just going to let John answer this one.
How about them Phillies? Kyle's a friend. I can't do it.
I appreciate that, John. John has spots that he's not willing to go to Kiev. So honestly, though, that game's about to tip off in a little bit anyway. So it wouldn't have done too much good to talk about that.
That's true. That's very true. But let's get into a game that I get ripped on a little bit for, and that is my Wisconsin Badgers facing the Iowa Hawkeyes, and the spread's about -4. The total is 142. Last thing I got of information was that Wieskamp isn't playing, but he's questionable now because I guess he played without a practice without a boot. I still think he's not. Have any of you guys got an update on that?
I don't have anything other than what you just said.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing is questionable, and if he plays, he's less than 100%. So I think it's probably underrated how much he means to that team. As far as effective field goal percentage offense, he's number 1 on the team. So very good player, very key to them. There's two things that I think about this game to start with. I'll go ahead and start and give some of my thoughts here. Wisconsin, weird game there last night, right? Kiev, they have a big lead. Nearly give the game away totally. Penn State really had a chance to win that game late. Wisconsin against Iowa has been two pretty good matchups this year. Wisconsin has been able to slow the tempo down in those two games. I would assume they try to do the same thing here. I have to lean to the under with the Lucas Oil Stadium setup. There have been a lot of really poor shooting percentages in the Big Ten tournament. Unfortunately, the line's already dropped a decent amount as far as the total, but I still think the under is the way I would look in that one. As far as the side, I'm going to let Kiev give some more thoughts here on the side. I think I would probably take Wisconsin in the points if I had to take something, but what do you think here?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I get into that, I'm outside today because we do have some construction going on inside the house, remodeling the bathroom. So if you hear any like dogs barking or carjackings or anything, I'm most likely okay.
Hopefully not.
So yeah. Why is Cam shooting like 49% from three? Is that the best in all of the NCAA? It's got to be right up there. There can't be too many other people shooting up 50% 3-point percentage.
It can't be.
Yeah, there can't be. And that's huge. And so if he's not playing this, it's huge, especially with these backdrops when you need shooters to win this game. I mean, let's face it, Iowa's not exactly a dribble drive type system. They do get it into Garza. He posts up and he has his good moves there. But these teams just played 5 days ago. Very close at the end. Lots of controversy at the end. You heard Greg Gard after this game, talking about how Davidson's just getting the shaft and everything, but it motivated Wisconsin. But Wisconsin's what you saw last night. That's Wisconsin. Up 18 points with 6-7 minutes left, almost lose the game outright. Penn State had a chance to shoot a ball and make it. It just blows my mind how they can do that. It's literally the most Jekyll and Hyde type team, really, in game. Not pre-game, really in game. They get so cold and so hot. But here's the thing. Wisconsin's got the seniors there. And these guys have played in this tournament 3 to 5 years already. They're coming in with a chip on their shoulder. They're not happy with their performance. And you've noticed they've been shooting the three a lot better the last two games. And going to Indianapolis isn't out of what they're normally doing as well. They go there all the time. I think that it's more of a downside for Iowa. And it's because of the new backdrops. And Iowa has to shoot the three. I think Garza is really going to depend. If he scores 25 points or more, then Iowa's going to possibly win this game. But if he doesn't and Wisconsin can hold him, I think Wisconsin's a live dog here. Now, I've been ripping on Wisconsin, as you guys both know, plenty of times. But this is a spot here where they look pretty ugly. But I'm going to take them at, the +4 here. I mean, sometimes you got to dip your hand in the garbage to find your wife's diamond ring. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm actually going to back Iowa, and Kiev and Kyle both know that we were talking about the situation with Garza. He gets foul trouble. He gets taken out of the game with 2 fouls in the first half. That hurts their offense. The Lucas Oil backdrops being a problem with low scoring. Iowa needs scoring. But when I saw this line at -4, I actually questioned myself, like, what's wrong with me? Because I actually thought this was going to come in around 7. Based on my numbers, I know Ken Palm had it at, I think, 5, if I'm right on that. But I have a little system here that said 71% over the last 25 years. And you take neutral court teams that are a favorite, including Pick, that are coming off a home win that they did not cover, and with two teams winning between 60 and 80% of their games on the season. That has gone 70, 30, and 2 pushes for 71% over the last 25 years, and that obviously supports Iowa. Another set of power ratings has Iowa as a 6.5-point favorite here, so you're picking up a little bit of value there. And I just think Garza, this is his time now. This is the time to take Iowa to the promised land and lead the team. And I just don't see Wisconsin winning this game, and I could be completely wrong. I think Fran McCaffrey's going to have his squad just loaded for bear. It's time to play, and I think they're going to do it.
All right, so this is a 30% of the time that you're wrong. The system's wrong, right? on this situation. I'm gonna let Kyle break the tie on this one.
I'm gonna take the under. So I'm gonna let you guys be split on the side. I'm gonna take the under here in this one. Lucas Oil Stadium under is my lean here in this game, and we got plenty of games to talk about. So I think it's good that we don't all agree on everything. It's nice if we have a little bit of disagreement.
All right. Well,
it's funny, Kiev, that you say that, because a lot of times in my research report, when I put out my top-rated 5% plays, I'll mention a system like this, or I'll mention that I'm hitting 70% on my 5% plays. That also means that they lose 30% of the time. So that was funny that you said that, because I write that a lot.
John, if you only lose 30% of the time in total, let me know where to send the check, because I'll be purchasing your plays.
You know what I mean. It's more like to tell people not to bet over their head because it's a top-rated play and they get crazy. It's trying to calm them down.
Yeah, I totally get it. So Ken Palm's got it at 4, Bart Torvik at 3.8, the Jack Nungy injury, and it hasn't really been factored in as much, and he's kind of guards his back up too. So 2 tall guys might be out of this one. We'll see what happens. Let's move on to the next game then. We don't need to dwell on this. Rutgers, another Big Ten one, of course, John. As you know, I have that appreciation for the Big Ten so much, like you do. Rutgers versus Illinois. Illinois -8. The total on this is 137.5. Have you either? I have something on this. I'm not sure if it's a play, but either of you guys have anything?
John, you have anything you like here?
I like Illinois. I have a good friend that's probably listening to the show right now that is just so excited about the Rutgers football team being ranked number 9 in recruiting. And, sometimes we're talking and looking through rose-colored glasses about the basketball team too. But I think Rutgers is up against a team that, as both of you know, I have playing for the national championship and I've already bet it. I also think Illinois will win the Big Ten Conference Championship as well. So I see this game as a 12, 13, or more point victory for Illinois.
So Shiano's at 9 right now for recruiting. He must be learning some of those dirty Urban Meyer tricks, is what I'm starting to think here. All right.
I'll make sure I'll share that with him when I see him later this afternoon.
For Rutgers, that's awesome. These two teams played way back in December here. What's changed? Well, Rutgers shot out of their minds that game and scored 91 points against Illinois at home. And Illinois, it's not like they were out of the game. I think they scored 89 or something like this. I mean, this thing was over before I think barely the second half started here. But even in saying that, Illinois, they look in the part right now, looking great. But let's face it here, when they played Ohio State last week, Ohio State, there was more of a choke job on Ohio State being up 4 with 4 minutes left than Iowa actually winning this game. They went 0 for 10. The Buckeyes went 0 for 10. And Illinois just, obviously easily won because of that, and of course it takes defense. Don't get me wrong. Illinois got some great momentum. The thing that for me is Andre Curbelo from Illinois. He's fantastic, and he's a freshman, and he's just getting better and better. When Dosunmu came out, I did not expect for him to take the load and score like he did. So now that we know he's really good, Illinois is a force, and I'm scared of them. And I think this spread is just a tad bit high for myself. I wouldn't be shocked if they did cover the spread. But what I think is I might look at here is a first half under. And the number I'm kind of looking for is a 65 if I can get it. Illinois got a good defense. They're ranked number 7 on Ken Palm. But you have to understand at Lucas Oil Stadium, just like Kyle pounded down, is that the backdrops are far. It's like playing in a giant cave. And they might be a little bit cold the first half. But if that happens, I do expect Illinois' defense, the Illini's defense, to step it up here a little bit too in the first half, right? Kind of protect some of their offensive woes. Rutgers, inconsistent at best. They're not a great shooting team. I don't really want to take first full game unders here with the Big Ten, with the officiating the way it is. But I'm okay with the first half under. So that's the play I think I'm going to look at. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, Kev, I have a first half betting system that'll make you happy. 65% winners last 5 seasons, 121, 62, and 4 pushes. Looks like we're playing under on a neutral court game where both teams have covered the spread in 4 of their last 5 contests. And that's all there is to it. Pretty simple,
right.
pretty straightforward, and
Very
that supports the first half under.
Perfect. Kyle?
So the full game number is too low for me to take the under. As Kiev said, we can see some epic ref shows in the Big Ten this year. It's gotten really out of hand. Even the Wisconsin-Iowa game, the refs at the end of that game last weekend, questionable calls to say the very least, and it's gone against many different teams. I don't think they favor one side or another too often, but in general, there have been some ref shows. You see teams in the double bonus with 10 minutes left. I mean, what do we love to see if we're college basketball fans? Parades to the charity stripe. Apparently they think that. I certainly don't myself. I'd rather see them play the game. But in this one, 64.5 is the total here on the first half right now. 65, I agree. I would lean to the under there. First half, I think you might be able to find that in some book. 64.5 is what most of them are at. I don't have any real strong lean here on the side, so I'm going to save my thoughts for more for some of the other games. If I had to bet this one, I think I'd lay the points with Illinois.
All right. Fair enough, man. Let's move up to why don't you pick a game now, Kyle, that you'd like to cover?
So let's talk about Colorado State and Utah State here, the late game tonight, midnight. This is a good game. John and I talked about this the other day that, we've got the Mountain West as a team, a conference that has a lot of teams that are on the bubble. A lot of these Colorado State, Utah State. There's some teams here, Boise State probably not going to make it now, but they're at least on the bubble. This is a really big game for both of these teams. They split the season series. I see 4.5 here on Utah State. I'm a bit surprised this is 4.5. There's even a couple 5s out there. At 5, I certainly lean toward Colorado State in this game. I think this will be a close game. I would expect this to come down to the end. In the regular season series, they had some high-scoring games. And I'd be tempted to take the over because I think Utah State's defense is a good defense, but they may be a bit overvalued based on beating up some pretty bad teams. At the same time, I don't want to take over 138 here in a game that both of these teams probably see as, hey, we need this game if we want to be in the NCAA tournament. Because we've talked about before, those huge games certainly lean to the under. The more the game means, the under makes sense. My number is higher than this on the total, so I'm not taking the under. But I like Colorado State and the points, especially if you can get the 5 points here.
All right. And I don't have much on this game except that Queta they have over at Utah State's a force inside at 7 foot. They seem to be a very good rebounding team, tall team. Utah State ranking 19th in offensive rebounds, 2nd in defensive rebounds. If they're not hitting the shots, Utah State cleans house here is the thing. Can Colorado State hit the 3? They rank 50th in three-point shooting at 36.7%. That's all I have for this as far as a spread, probably correct. But to Kyle's point, man, there's so many crazy bubble teams right now that's going to be biting their nails on Sunday, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Utah State will probably be in if they win this game. And I have them in right now before this game even starts. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Duke is now out, which I know Kyle has been weeping miserably about all night.
Duke was out anyway, man. Come on.
All right.
Kyle and I, we were kind of nervous. Like, they still could get in maybe just because of the 45,000 years they've been in the tournament. But seriously, on this game, I think Utah State here is very cheap. I agree with everything that both you guys said. Betting on favorites of 3.5 to 9.5 points that are revenging a same season loss and now playing the second road or neutral court game in the past 3 days are 80 and 48 for 64%. Utah State head coach Smith has a couple good trends. 13 and 3 against the spread after his defense allowed 60 or fewer points in 2 consecutive games. and a perfect 7-0 after allowing 55 or fewer points in the last 2 games. So that's why I love Utah State.
There you go, man.
I got to tell you, both of these coaches have been big-time moneymakers, Medved and Craig Smith. Medved's 71-50 ATS, and I'm going to look up Craig Smith here real quick, 98-67. So both of these guys have been bet-on coaches. If these teams, either of these teams or both of these teams get in the big dance, I want to look to bet on a team like this.
All right, fantastic. Let's move on to a John Ryan game. What you got for us, John?
Well, let's see. We covered the one that I liked. Why don't we take a look at the SEC? Because I want people to know that I'm not wearing blinders and only look at the Big Ten Conference, although they are the superior conference, and let's make no doubt about that. But here in this matchup, I was a little bit surprised by the line being only -1.5, and it's not going to be a pushover for LSU to get through this game, and for that reason, I like Ole Miss here to pull off the upset. I usually like to sprinkle a little bit on the money line, but unless this gets to 3.5, which it probably won't, there's no reason to sprinkle the money line. However, during this COVID-related year that we've been going through, road teams have had a tremendous advantage with no fans in the stands or limited fans, especially in college football. We've seen it too in the NBA. It's easier to change plays at the line of scrimmage. It's easier to run offenses, especially at the ends where the opposing fans or students would have been. So for that reason, I think playing the money line on Ole Miss makes sense more than taking the 1.5. And according to my machine learning stuff, this is a game that Ole Miss wins by 7 or more. So like you said, Kev, there's an 80% probability that they are going to accomplish this feat. It also means there's a 20% chance that I'm going to have egg on my face and LSU will win by 20. That's part of the grind.
Well, and in LSU, it has been very inconsistent to me, and it's been tough. I've tried to back them in some spots that they just completely collapsed in, and then I've tried to fade them in some spots that I thought would pay out, and it hasn't. I think like against Mississippi State here, Mississippi State was hot, and I thought, okay, that's a little bit too big of a spread. They go there and win by 14 points. I mean, just they shut out of their minds. And then they lose to Georgia by 13 points. They lose to Arkansas, which is okay now. We found out a lot about Arkansas, but they've been pretty inconsistent to me, and I'm gonna lean with Ole Miss. Kyle.
Yeah, I like Ole Miss here. LSU is a team that I'd like to go against when they're not at home. Tennessee, a team that I want to go against as well. I think LSU has been inconsistent enough, and they have those big home road splits. I don't want to bet on a team like that. Ole Miss has a lot to prove here, and they're one of those teams that if they pick up a couple wins, people are going to start talking about them and the bubble talk. LSU is going to be in. So I think Ole Miss has more to play for in a game like this. And I like the Ole Miss defense. LSU, I mean, let's be honest, they're all about offense. They don't really play much defense. You play this time of the year and you take the better defense and you get plus money on the money line. I would take Ole Miss on the money line here.
Yeah, and this is one of those great offensive fast versus defensive slow matchups here, pace war and offense versus defense war. Now, Mississippi did lose back in January to LSU at home by 14 points, but a lot's changed since then, and Mississippi has been very hot, as you know. I think they won the last 7 out of their last 9 games. So Ole Miss is a different team. All right, well, let's move on to – or Kyle, you have one more thing?
Kiev, I want to say one thing real quick. The breaking news is Kansas is out of the Big 12 tournament with a COVID positive test. So now Texas will move on to the next round. I have to say I took the wrong team trying to go against Kansas. I took Oklahoma
I
at
did
plus
too.
25-1, and that was one where I had to take it based on the price. I think Texas was 10-1 or something like that. So Texas bettors, as long as they pay out on all these futures, Texas is in a good spot. Hate to see another team out of this. We don't like seeing teams drop one by one. I'm feeling kind of this, what was it, a year ago today that, everything was getting canceled. Let's hope that we have nothing like that. I don't think we'll have anything like that again, but I hope that that this is rare instead of more common.
Yeah, I'm on Texas today at Pick'em, and it went to -1.5. So I had a slight line value on them. It's too bad. And I was on Oklahoma last night, and they were down by 20 in the first half, and they came back within 5 points. And I've read some tweets and I was coaching baseball at the time. I read some tweets that didn't finish out too nicely, did it?
Yeah. Yeah, I watched the end of that game, and I have to say, as a neutral observer, as far as being a fan of Kansas or Oklahoma, I thought Kansas got a favorable whistle at the end of that game. Reeves was fouled on a couple of plays there that they were not called. I don't think too many people would be stunned by Kansas getting calls. Kansas and Duke and Kentucky and teams like that, the big name teams are going to get the call more often than the other teams, but hate to see them out of the tournament. And I do see we have a request here, a couple requests, Kiev. So one on Twitter from Sin City Sharp is for San Diego State and Nevada. Can we just give some quick thoughts on that game? I'll give my thoughts here really quick first so we can keep moving. Nevada plus the points is my lean in this game. I think this is quite a few points to be laying for San Diego State. Nevada looked very good against Boise State. Obviously, they were shooting very well. But San Diego State's not a team to me that is good enough offensively to get huge margin against high-quality teams. So I'm going to lean toward Nevada plus the points. The total is exactly what I projected it at, so I have no lean on the total.
I watched the game too, and Nevada could not miss. They're amazing, and they're desperate. You can tell they're playing desperate. Nevada plus 4.5 was one of my largest bets yesterday, and I also had a sprinkle on the money line. I'm doing it again today. So I got in my 8.5, and it's coming down a little bit. I don't know if it's still at 8 or whatever it is. But, even Ken Palm's only got it at 7. See, San Diego State, they struggled a little bit yesterday against Wyoming. I wonder if they're questioning themselves, or I'm wondering if they just want to get to the NCAA tournament. Now, they were better last year, and they lost some players, as we know. But, but Nevada's just playing lights out. I'll take the points all day on that one. So, in my opinion, that's a play. John?
Yeah, I'd be with you guys too on that because Nevada's 12-2 versus solid defensive teams, allowing a shooting percentage of 42% or less on the season after the 15th game of the regular season. So I think you guys are onto something. I appreciate the gentleman who asked us this question because this is a game that I had not planned to look at, but now because of that, it has my interest.
All right. Well, Glenn asked us too about Memphis, and I can just start by saying I like Memphis to win it. And after I watched them play Houston, I thought that Houston got very lucky at the end. I guess Memphis got somewhat lucky to tie it up. But Memphis is going to look at that as a momentum builder here. Anything plus 500 is better if you can still get it to win. And that's kind of where I was dancing at. But, I wouldn't mind them on a money line rollover, a money line play right now, too. And I don't know if Wichita State's playing right now or not, Kyle, John.
Yeah.
But they're a very weak number one team. They're probably the weakest number one team.
They're losing right now. So, yeah, that's proving your point, Kiev.
They're losing to South Florida. Yeah. South Florida's is shocking the shockers, I guess we'd call it. But no, that's what I have on that. I like Memphis. So, Glenn, yeah, that's probably a good idea to take a look at them. I saw that they were set -7, and I've considered that a play. I didn't take it yet, but I was considering that.
My quick thoughts on this game. I don't have anything strong at all here. Memphis laying points worries me a bit because they're very inefficient on offense. They play extremely fast, try to force turnovers and get quick points in transition because their half-court offense is not very good. So Memphis defensively very good, offensively not very good, but they play at a very quick tempo. I think that this is one of those games that I'd rather pass on. So Kiev leans toward Memphis. It sounds like. John, do you have anything in this one?
I would take Memphis too because they're a superior team at both ends of the court. And I don't think laying 7 or 8 points is excessive. And based on everything you guys said, I see it as a double-digit win for Memphis, and they advance. And it may not be against Wichita State because it's 61-55 with 7:06 to go. So I was looking at that mainly to make a commentary about in-game betting for those that are listening live. With only 7 minutes to go, it's a pretty bold move if you were on Wichita State to bet them on the live game because you're limited to 7 minutes. You're pinned into a corner after that point. So I don't think it's worth doing anything in-game, but food for thought.
All right. Good stuff there. And yep, Memphis is still at -7, and it's a late game. So I'm gonna consider that one here. Let's move on to another game then, guys. And I have Oklahoma State facing Baylor, right? Had to cover this one. Now I'm glad that we're covering this one since Kansas just retired. And this is, the other Big 12 game, right? So, man, Oklahoma State's been my darling this year. I can't go against them. I think you guys know where I'm going here. I really like the fact that Likely is back. And I'm not sure if I said that. I think Kekely or something. I never said his name right, but
I don't know.
he's a really good player and a nice. He did well yesterday, and that game was so exciting versus West Virginia yesterday. And I was on Oklahoma State, but they're not getting the respect here at 9. You saw the spread was at about 11.5 at Baylor, and now they're at about a 9.5. I'm not so sure about that. I think that they've improved enough in the fact that they got their player back that they should be more of a 7-point spread, in my opinion. Both teams play very fast. They both rank over 85th in seconds per possession. So I'd be careful for betting the under, even though it's on a neutral court. I'm not going to necessarily do it. Maybe Kyle's got more thoughts on that. But neither team has really bad weaknesses. Oklahoma State, a little bit turnover. They turn it over a little bit too much, but they know to clean that stuff up in this big game. So I think the spread's wrong. And I know Baylor has been Baylor, but Baylor, they haven't been who they were in the December, I guess. Baylor's still a top team, Baylor, but they're not 9 points better than one of my favorite teams in the Big 12 here. So I took Oklahoma State plus the 9.5, but I like it all the way to 8.5 at least. Plus 9, take it 2.5 stars. Kyle.
I want to disagree with you on one of these, but I like Oklahoma State as well here if I was taking a side. I think as far as what I made the total, I had 148.5 here. So it moved down from its open and now is right about where I think it should be. I think Baylor has not shown that they can play the same way they did earlier in the season. I think Baylor still has a really high upside, but this is a pretty big spread against a team that's clearly improving here of late, Oklahoma State. I have to take the points if I'm taking a side in this game. I think that laying this many points with Baylor against a team that, Oklahoma State's peaking at the right time, like I said, and they have probably the best player on the floor in Cunningham. So I have to take the points here.
John?
Well, I'm going to ruin the consensus. Respectfully submit that I am on Baylor, and I respectfully submit that I think it's going to be a blowout, and I'll tell you why. Oklahoma State is a terrible ball handling team. Even during this stretch, they've gotten better. But the one thing that Baylor does exceptionally well is assist to turnover ratios at both ends of the court. Oklahoma State ranks 287th with a 0.819 assist to turnover ratio. That means they commit more turnovers than they get assists. On defensive end, and I think this is where Baylor, the media, talks about their offensive prowess and scoring. And, of course, everybody likes scoring. But defensively, they rank 15th in opponent assist-to-turnover ratio at 0.71. And that is remarkably strong, especially in light of their recent kind of shaky play. Now, on the offensive end for Baylor, they rank 17th, 1.392 assist-to-turnover ratio, going up against a pretty decent Oklahoma State defense with a 0.882. But it's going to be turnovers. And I think if you get For example, my machine learning stuff says that Baylor will have at least 5 fewer turnovers than Oklahoma State in this game. And when that happens and Baylor scores 80 or more points, it's near perfection against the spread. So those are the two things I will be looking for in the game tonight, with a turnover margin of 5 or more and Baylor scoring 80 or more. And I think if they do both of those, they'll cover.
All right. Well, Kyle had to drop real quick. Maybe something, got a text or something. Maybe you'll be back. But just my only rebuttal is that they played twice already. The first game was without Cade Cunningham, and he was a non-factor for a while because the game was tied, and I had Oklahoma State, and then at the end, Baylor shot like 4 threes in a row, just boom, 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 nailed it, just covered like that. In the second time, Baylor was kind of in the game. Cade was just back, still banged up, so I don't know. It went to 11. And some people pushed on it. Some people covered if you had plus 11.5. But I don't know. This is when a couple teams play each other, they should be able to figure them out a little bit. So interesting that you had that other take, and so it doesn't make me like it quite as much. But
I certainly don't want to talk you out of it.
I already made it. You can't talk me out of it. I already put the play in, buddy. So we're good, man. It's just going to be one of those me versus you things, which I'm actually happy you do. A lot of shows are scared to disagree. What the heck? There's got to be disagreement here. When we know that some of the best sports bettors in the world are 56%, there's disagreement that happens, But it's not a 5-star play or anything. It's 2.5 for me. So I think it's fair that we do. The good news is I got the 9.5. Maybe you can get the 8.5, and we'll get the sucker at 9. So we'll see. So Kyle, you're back. Any quick thoughts on Oklahoma State?
I mean, I like Oklahoma State plus the points. I had to plug in. Sorry, I always forget how much the power juice is down on the computer from streaming. So I had to.
No worries. I tell you, and you did say that, and you did say that already. So so we're good. Let's move on to another game here, and it's one I just want to throw out real quick: Seattle versus Grand Canyon, and Grand Canyon is about -7. The total of this is 134. Grand Canyon is the best team in this conference, as we know. But this game's very interesting to me for a couple reasons. They split at Seattle, right? And even though Grand Canyon is statistically better than Seattle in most categories, if you look at turnovers, which John just pounded through, Seattle's great at keeping the ball, ranking 22nd on KenPom at not turning the ball over, and great at forcing turnovers, ranking 46th. Well, Grand Canyon is 246 or worse in both categories. And being on a neutral court here in Vegas, it makes me wonder if that might show its ugly face. Here's the weirdest thing about Grand Canyon that I found that I might take a shot against them, because their first game that's away from home, they either lose it outright or don't cover the spread this whole year. It's just one of those things that don't show up on statistics. You have to dig a little bit deeper for that. But if you look at all their games, check out their first away or away from home game, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take a small shot with Seattle at +7. You guys, anything quick on this game?
Yeah, I had noticed that too, Kiev, with those back-to-backs. They come back and play well in the second game, but in this one, they don't get a second game if they play poorly in the first. So I don't have anything strong here. I think this line is about where it should be, and then the total is exactly where I think it should be. So I'm going to pass on this one, and I could see where you're coming from with taking Seattle, especially, honestly, Seattle money line would make some sense as a small play just to take a bite, because I feel like there is some variance in a game like this, because Seattle is a well-coached team that's had some strange results as well. If you think there's a wide variance of results, taking a little bit on the money line makes some sense.
And you can always buy back on the other side at halftime,
right,
and possibly get a winner anyway. So there you go. John, anything quick?
Yeah, this is another game I wasn't planning on looking at, but it's got my interest because head coach of Seattle, Hayford, is 21-5, revenging a home loss in all game he has coached. 21-5. That alone, and then what you said about the assist to turnover ratios, that money line play is pretty darn attractive.
Yeah, sure is. Maybe a little sprinkle on the money line if you take the spread too. So good stuff. 2 more games to talk. John, you picked, I believe, Uconn versus Creighton. Why don't you tell us what you got going on with that one?
Yeah, let me get the page up here real quick. Somehow I canceled it out, but let's find it here quick. I like Creighton in this game. I think that was probably obvious when I sent that over to you. And, Uconn is getting a lot of publicity. I hear it. I understand that where they're coming from with that, and they are a solid team. But now I think, it may be ridiculous to say this, but I think they're stepping up in class. And Creighton is one of the better ball handling teams in the nation. They are. Creighton is 10th nationally, 1.484, going against a pretty good Uconn defense in this category, ranking 43rd, 0.807. Uconn's assist-to-turnover ratio is 102nd in the nation, going against Creighton, who's basically the same. But I still think opponent-adjusted ratios favor Creighton here with ball handling. Turnovers in conference games become magnified. In fact, assists per game, Uconn is 156, so they don't move the ball around very much. They're averaging 13.2 a game. By comparison, Creighton is 14th in the nation, getting 16.4 assists per game. And I see Creighton winning this quite easily, a matter of fact. So this is one of my premium plays for my clients.
Ooh, premium play. Kyle, anything on this one?
I like the under here. Madison Square Garden under for me. As far as Uconn, I'm going to agree with John that Uconn has gotten to be really trendy at this point. I think Uconn's a good team. It's just, I'm hearing Uconn as a Final Four sleeper. I mean, look, let's let them beat some teams better than what they've beat so far before we talk about Uconn getting to the Final Four. Obviously, it could happen. I mean, we've seen far stranger things than Uconn getting to the Final Four, but I do feel like this team has a little bit more to prove. The Big East is a fairly deep conference, but there aren't a lot of great teams at the top of the Big East. And I think one point that supports what John's saying as well, Creighton's very capable of shooting the three, and usually Uconn is very good at interior defense. Creighton is not usually trying to score inside as much as they are shooting from three. Uconn, tons of good shot blockers, very good shot blockers, a good defense. Offensively, not as consistent as I'd want to see from a team that I think would go really far into the tournament. So I'll lean to Creighton. I like the under here.
So for me, I think they are going to the Final Four because I have 85-1 on Uconn, guys. Come on. All right, I took that a couple weeks ago, but I only took two futures for the tournament, and that was one of them. And it's because of Book Night's back, and all their stats this whole year doesn't have Book Night in it. Now, I am doing a money line rollover on Uconn, so I am picking them to win this game, but I'm not going against John here. I was kind of, hoping it went. I was, more hoping Creighton wouldn't, have to be. They have to maybe wouldn't run into him. Or look, the money line roller might have been a poor choice because Villanova's out now, and we somewhat expected that. And I think you might have been able to get 4 or 5-1 on Uconn to win this. I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was worse. I don't know, but I'm still doing it because they're my pick to win. But I think this is a true coin flip game anyway. So I'm excited to see what happens. I'm not necessarily talking you off. I'm just saying it's one of my money line rollover things. So, I'm going to just side with Uconn here. Kyle, you have one game left here to talk about for tomorrow.
Yeah, one game for tomorrow here. Let's give the viewers something for tomorrow, since some of the people will see this here later today. So VCU and St. Bonaventure for the title game there in the A10. As far as this one, my initial thought, I like St. Bonaventure some in this one. I think St. Bonnie is a really collectively good team. VCU is pretty highly reliant on Highland. This is one where, to me, VCU is not the same team that they've been in some of the years in the past. VCU is a quality team. I don't think they're an amazing team. This is one where Nashawn Highland is counted on to do so much, and he's still not 100%. During the season, these two played some interesting games. VCU lost at St. Bonnie 70-54, won at home 67-64. There were some big runs in these games. In fact, VCU was ahead 40-25 in the first game and lost 70-54. They scored 3 points in the last 10 minutes of that game. That's concerning to me. You can only score 3 points in a 10-minute span against an opponent that you're only catching 1.5 points from now on a neutral. I'm going to lean toward St. Bonnie here. And I'm going to look at this one a little bit closer here before we get to tomorrow, obviously. But I think St. Bonaventure minus 1.5 could be worth a look. The total 128. I have 127 in this one. So I think if I had to bet something, I'd bet the under. This one's at UD and Dayton. So nothing huge for a venue under or anything like that. I think this should be a good game, but I trust the collective team of St. Bonaventure more than VCU.
John?
Yeah, I like that. Actually, I have the game taking place on Sunday, if that's right on my data. Maybe my scraper didn't do it right, but that gives Kyle even more time to look at it, and both of us as well.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Sunday. Good.
So, not that that's any big deal, but the scope of VCU is pretty one-dimensional, as Kyle pointed out. And then when I get back over here to St. Bonaventure, you have a much more balanced team. You definitely have the two best teams in the A10 playing against each other, which is nice. 5 players on St. Bonaventure in double figures, which is, I don't care what conference you're in, that's super, super rare. It also probably means the bench is somewhat weak, but nevertheless, those 5 stay in the game for most of this championship, I would think. They're all juniors, by the way. As I see, that means they're all probably coming back. So that team ought to be pretty good again next year. So my lean right now, just looking at this for the first time, would be St. Bonaventure. And by the way, this year they returned 70 or 80% of the minutes played and 85% of the scoring. So that also points to why they've played so well this year. And keep in mind, it's going to be 100% of the minutes or close to it, and 90-some% of the points returning for next year. So that's something to look forward to with these guys.
Yeah, and I'll tell you now, I bet Dayton early at 13-1 to win it. And when Dayton started against VCU, they were like down by double digits, 18 points, 20 points. And somehow they came back at the very end to make it a game just because of some inconsistency that Kyle just talked about with VCU. And if that's the case, and if they start out, just kind of neck and neck, then I really like the Bonnies here. I think VCU has to start good here. And they're not in Virginia anymore. They had to go to UD here. Part of the reason why I took a chunk of UD back when the Lions came out. So I'm gonna lean right now with St. Bonnie, and I have a couple days to think about it, which is nice. So I'm happy about that. So good stuff here. Any final thoughts, guys?
I'm looking forward to the weekend of games. I mean, I know that Selection Sunday, for me, ever since I was a kid, I always get really excited on Selection Sunday. It's almost like Christmas. I love Selection Sunday. And, my wife always gets a kick out of it every single year. Every single year I'm going around, dancing around on Selection Sunday. I've got a little more pep in my step, and I'm excited, humming the tune of the CBS intro. And, I'm looking forward to it again. I think that there should be plenty of good betting opportunities this weekend as well as next week. And I'll just say too to the viewers, don't forget about the NIT and the smaller tournaments, because there can be some really good value in those.
All right. Well, great stuff. I agree. I cannot wait for Selection Sunday. I'll be on the couch watching it all, getting my thoughts together. Really excited to see how these brackets turn out, guys. Well, where can our listeners find your great information then, Kyle?
You can go to huntersportspicks.com, check out my March Madness early access pass, discounting that a little bit more here today. There's going to be plenty of plays between now and the end of the season. And also, if you want free plays, sign up for my free picks newsletter over there at huntersportspicks.com. Follow me on Twitter at KyleHunterPicks.
And John?
I can be found at sportsmemo.com, wagertalk.com, and a new site that is just being launched called thepredictiveplaybook.com, which is the same show that you two guys appear on as my valuable guest, and appreciate it very much. I have a package for the any listeners of any of my shows. It's $1.99 to get all of March Madness through April 30th. That includes all sports, which means baseball too, which I've happened to have a horseshoe with that sport as well. But lastly, Alabama 85, Mississippi State 48. That's a shocker because I didn't have it as a play. I didn't put any money in, no release, but I actually thought Mississippi State was going to give them a game. So maybe Alabama is the team that's going to win the SEC. Who knows? But that's a beatdown.
All right. Well, it certainly is. I have Arkansas -3 from the late night line, and it's getting up to 6 now. So I might even be buying back a little bit on Missouri. But either way, that's my team that I think is going to clean up here. So we'll see what happens. You can check us out at theoddsbreakers.com. And, for us, you don't even have to be a yearly member. You can just try us out for the month of March here. Obviously, that's when you're going to get most of your plays anyway. We'll be doing some premium stuff on baseball as usual. And then obviously all the futures that come up and season win totals for college football and for the NFL. So always have it for you guys. Thank you so much for watching this show. If you could retweet it or just share it with your friends, we really appreciate it. If you have any questions for next week, feel free to tweet any of us at Kyle Hunter Picks, at John Ryan Sports 1, at the Odds Breakers. Everyone have a great weekend and go get some winners.